Hi, beautiful people. Today we're talking about finding the greatest common factor for terms in a numerical expression. So the first thing that we want to address is this term right here that you probably haven't heard or haven't heard in a very long time, and it's greatest common factor. Greatest common factor. And a lot of the times when you hear it or when you see it, it'll be abbreviated to GCF. Notice that GCF comes from those three letters, greatest common factor. Okay, so the GCF of something is the biggest factor that is shared between two numbers. So the biggest shared factor between two terms. And of course, I'll give you an example. So the biggest shared factor between two terms, let's say our terms are 12 and 18. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to write them a little bit different. I'm going to write them like this, 12 and 18. So these are our original terms. OG. Okay, to find the greatest common factor, the biggest shared factor, I want to find all the factors of 12. So I'm going to think of factor pairs of 12. So I know 12 times 1, so 12 and 1. I know 6 times 2, so 6 and 2. And I know 3 times 4, or 3 and 4. Those are all the factors of 12. Okay, so for 18, I know again 18 and 1. I know 9 and 2. And I know 6 and 3. And those are all the factors of 18. So now what I do is I'm going to look through this list and I'm going to find the biggest common factor. So first I'm going to look at common factors. They both have the number 1 in common. They both have the number 2 in common. They both have the number 3 in common. And they both have the number 6 in common. So their greatest common factor is the biggest number that they share. The greatest common factor, or the biggest number that they share, is the number 6. So we just found their greatest common factor by listing the factors of each. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you another way to find greatest common factors. Let's try another example. Okay, so this time we're going to try the numbers 21 and 6. Those are the original numbers. Now this time, instead of listing all the factors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor it with what's called the ladder method because it starts to look like a ladder. So I've drawn an L and it looks like a division sign. So next to my L, I'm going to write a factor that they have in common. So what's a number that divides 21 that also divides 6? 3 is a number that divides 21 that also divides 6. So now that I've come up with 3, now I'm going to divide them. So I do 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then I do 21 divided by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay. And I look at 7 and 2 and I say, okay, do they have any common factors? No. 7 and 2 have no common factors because they're both prime numbers, which means the greatest common factor here, or the biggest factor that they share, is the number 3. Okay. All right, let's do another example. This time we're going to do 60 and 45. Now, a thing with this is like sometimes the number is really easy to come by at like 3, but other times it's going to be a little more difficult. So 60 and 45. What is a number that divides 60 that also divides 45? Well, I know because 60 ends in a 0 and 45 ends in a 5 that they're both divisible by 5. So 5 is a common factor for 60 and 45. So again, I do this division. I go 45 divided by 5. Well, 45 divided by 5 is 9. And then I do 60 divided by 5. 60 divided by 5 is 12. Okay, but I'm not done because 12 and 9 share a common factor. So I'm going to make a second rung to my ladder. And now I say, okay, what number divides 12 and 9? 3 divides 12 and 9. And I do 12 divided by 3 is 4. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, this time to find the GCF, I multiply these two. 5 times 3 is 15.